Houston, we have a problem. For some reason, the Polytuf is sinking like I've never seen it before. Boco's basically doing a half dive there, and it's not a very pretty sight, is it? And as I've so often found in life, the answer to why it fails isn't going to be that pretty. Well, hello there. I've got man flu at the moment, so if I'm not sounding normal, that's the reason why. There's Thomas the Tank pulling some wagons there on some pool tracks that I've just made up with this product here called Polytuf, the tough cover. And before I go any further in this video, I've got to say this boring warning. Warning, this video contains footage of toys playing out as aquatic toys, even though they're not aquatic toys, so full adult supervision is required if you're playing with these toys as aquatic toys. Hope that makes sense. Pool tracks is a lot of fun to do. It's actually very easy to do, and I think it elevates playing with toy trains to a totally new level. You don't have to use drab old black Polytuf like I do. There are other colours as well. There's a lovely blue, and there's also a lovely green. But the people who quizzed me about this product and the way I showed it in videos and the way I showed it making pool tracks had me look very close into what's going on, and I think you're going to get a big surprise once we take this over to the pool and I'll show you how it floats. Might have had to have done a magic edit there to get to this point here. Let me just get this pool tracks into the pool, this very small pool, and see how it floats. Okay, let's get Thomas going here and see how Thomas goes on that pool tracks. So there's Thomas doing his best, just going round and round in circles because he's got nowhere else to go. But that's not a very light load. I was putting much heavier trains on pool tracks than that before. That Trackmaster 2 Thomas with the wagons is working, but is it working as good as the original pool tracks that I showed in my videos? That's a very curious question. Let me swap out this very light Trackmaster 2 Thomas with those wagons there and put something a bit heavier on. Okay, I'm just carefully putting Boco on here. Boco's powered by a C-cell. Now, I had Boco up on my pull tracks last year, but hang on, Houston, we have a problem. For some reason, the pull tracks is sinking like I've never seen it before. I hope that's coming through on camera. Boco's basically doing a half dive there in water as she is going around, and it's not a very pretty sight, is it? If I just spin it like that, maybe you can see how submerged the pool tracks is with that Boco. Now, it never used to be like that. I've got plenty of footage from last year and possibly the year before where the pool tracks easily supported the larger engines like this, or diesels like this, and also Gordon, which also carried a C battery. But this is not looking pretty at all. This is looking like an epic fail. Now, what I've done to this train here is I've added on a couple more wagons because I really want you to see what's going on here before we move on. Power up Boco here and just see how it goes. And it's not the way pool tracks used to be. It really had me very carefully studying about what has changed. What has made the pool tracks such an epic fail? And I believe I've found the answer. That pool tracks ring is made from the latest stock of Polytuf that I found in my Bunnings store. Let me go back to some of the earlier stuff that I use on that ring of track there. And I dare say most people would have got past the C-powered battery Thompson French stuff. Let me just disconnect Boco from these wagons here. Let me shovel the wagons off the rails here. Let me run Boco around all by herself because I need to show you this, and I'll jump Boco from this pool tracks ring that I've just made from the Polytuf stuff that I just purchased from Bunnings to my ring that I've made from previous Polytuf. Okay, got a picture of that. Okay, let's go to my, what I call the classic ring, and take a look at that running around. That's weird. I can't see Boco having that sinking feeling. Let me go back to the other ring, which has wandered away a bit over here. Oh, that's very strange, isn't it? All of a sudden Boco's struggling there. And once again, I'll go back to my classic older ring of pull tracks. Oh, and again Boco's standing up nice and proud on the water. The pull tracks doesn't look like it's sinking, so really what's going on? So it does beg the question, what is different about that classic pull tracks ring that I've made from the Polytuf product that I've shown over and over in my videos versus this new ring from the Polytuf product that I purchased at Bunnings. Why does this Polytuf product want to sink? Well, I better come in and save Boko here and pull both rings out of the pool, and maybe we'll start to understand exactly what's going on here. There are the rings of pull tracks that I've made. That one there is a classic one because I've made it into quarters. The new one I've made into halves. So you can see there's just 2 cuts of foam there. And boy, did it take a bit of investigation to work out what's going on, and phoning companies and going back to Bunnings and looking at the stock on the shelves. That is the stuff that I cut the new rings of pull tracks out of. That's, you can see where I've done the scissor marks there and more cutting there. And of course I've got the raw product here, and I looked carefully over this. I'm trying to think, well, what's different between this here and the product that I showed in previous videos? I can tell you I have a strong history of using this product. I use it down in my garage on the floor. I've used it obviously for pull tracks. In fact, I cut it up and use it for many things. You can do all sorts of things with this product. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But as I found out, that this product that we see here isn't exactly the same as what I was purchasing maybe a year and a half back. And I can prove that by introducing some old stock that I had down in my garage. Ooh! My goodness me, Houston, we have a downsize. Downsizing, it seems to be the modern scourge that affects just about every product that we look at. I've got an assortment of things here that I've looked at over the years, and some that I haven't. I haven't done one on the Pringles one. At the moment, the Pringles company is in crisis. That was the old packet there, 150 grams. They changed it down to this ridiculously narrow packaging of 134 grams. You can't get your hand into the packet anymore. Mind you, I don't eat rubbish like that. The best way to send your Pringles back to the bigger size is stop buying Pringles. It's that simple. The company will end up saying, oh, we made a grand mistake. Sorry, customers, we'll bring back our larger Pringles. It is the same price. Basically, it's a $4 item. That was $4, and that's also $4, sort of roughly speaking. I mean, the prices do jump around a bit depending where you buy it. Morning Fresh never rebounded back. It used to be 450 mils. It went down to 400. All you just see now is it's on special all the time. That seems to be the only way they can sell it. Mars bars went from 60 grams down to 53 grams. Most people didn't notice that because of the clever way they do it. But I think the most cleverest was the Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate, when it went from 250 grams down to 200 grams. That was a miracle to see, because you could barely tell by lining up the packaging of one versus the other, even though 1/5 of the product had somehow vaporized. But the public didn't like what happened here. They also changed the formula, and guess what? The public won. So a larger block came back. It wasn't 250 grams, but the public does have the final say. Downsizing, it's a very dry subject. Sometimes I get very curious about it. I get actually very angry. I think most people get angry when they see their favourite brand. If you're a favourite Pringles lover of that, and you saw that being served up, you'd be saying, see you later, alligator. I'm moving on to another brand. So that moves us on to our Polytuf product. There is nothing wrong with this product. Mind you, the older product was much larger in scale. Okay, you got 4 mats in there. It made up an area of 1.27 meters square. Okay, but you never see the old product up against the new product. The new product, as we crawl across over here, makes up 1 meter square. It's still 4 mats, but it makes up 1 meter square. The information on both is very similar. That's the new stock that I've just purchased, and let me breeze across to the old stock. That's what it looks like on the old stock. Can you see anything different there? This is the old stock here, 12mm shock absorbing foam. Just remember 12mm, that's very important. It's got that other information there. Okay, this is the new stock, shock absorbing EVA foam. No thickness there. And there's the other info going down there. Now this new Polytuf that I purchased from Bunnings, it was $12. Now from memory, and hopefully I'm correct here, I think I was paying $15 for the older stock there at Bunnings again. Let me lay one on top of the other. That's the new stock of 4 mats on top of the old stock of 4 mats. The keying is different. They've actually got different keys, so you can't key the old stock to the new stock, which that really does annoy me because I can't add to my mats down in the garage. And let me just spin this round, and you can just see how shy the new stock is versus the old stock. I did have a chat with the company. They explained it to me as reformatting of the product. They used to have 2 sizes. They used to have a very small one and this larger one here. But now they've decided just to sell this size here. I've made up a packet of the green there. There's 1 square metre of green Polytuf. Let me lay it up against a square that I made, the 1.3 square metre that I made, and get the edges right here. Making sure that we are being very fair to the company. I hate to be showing something that isn't fair. And when I lay my green 1 square metre of the new product of the Polytuf up against my black Polytuf underneath there, you can start to see how much less you're getting with the new product. It's gone down in price roughly about $3. I mean, it depends where you purchased it from. So is that telling me that all the product that we see around the edge there was only worth $3 to me? I can only assume that companies making more profits and more money from the reformatted product, you wouldn't make a change like that to make less money. And let's remember, boys and girls, there's no law against making a profit. Profits are good. To me, it's quite a curious change. As the company explained to me via their 1300 number, it's a product simplification. In fact, I think the way they explained it made me sort of agree with some of the things that they were saying. Mind you, I do prefer the older product, and I let them know that. I said, hey, I can't tell you how much I loved it when it was this style. I think the fact that the new style doesn't key into the old style, that is just extremely annoying. Like I said, I can't add on to my workshop floor, which has all that. I mean, you see it in all my videos. Whenever you look at the ground, you're looking at this stuff. Okay, I use it for pull tracks, but really, the most sinister little change is the thickness. Let me come in and measure the old versus the new. Okay, there's the old stock there. It's just pushing up to 12 millimeters in thickness. Okay, here's the new stock here. As we can see, it's just nudging 10 millimeters. That subtle size difference is actually very hard to miss out. Maybe it's best shown if I look at the edges here. This is the edges. You can see the one there I'm tapping is the old size, and the other one, of course, is the new size. I think you can see it clearer that the one that my finger's on at the moment is thicker than that new stock. So that couple of millimeters makes the big difference when it comes to the pull tracks. That top ring there was made from the new stock of Polytuf. Put it this way, it's less buoyant, to be the best way of saying it. The old 12mm stock that I had is really what the pull tracks needs. Well, that Thomas there is my original pull tracks Thomas, virtually famous for being in the pool and liking the pool. It's still a goer. It says something about the older style Thomas, I can tell you. Something really nice about that, but also has something really nice about the old Polytuf. The downsize I think that many people missed, and over here is the new Thomas Trackmaster one. That was the pull tracks from last year. I should do a video about what has happened to the insides of that toy there. It is looking very sad after playing in the water. Well, there are the pull tracks, rings back down on the pool again, that's the way they should be. That's the old 12mm foam there, and Thomas is having no trouble there. The 10mm foam will work with the Trackmaster 2 stuff, but you can't put the heavier stuff on there, it starts to sink. That's what I've noticed, okay? Maybe you could come in if you were using the heavier stuff and you would cut the foam wider, but then you start to lose the illusion of the tracks floating on the water. And really, it's another example of how one little change can, well, rain on your parade, hey? It happens to me far too often. Well, I suppose a change like this keeps me on my feet, doesn't it? It kept some of my viewers quite agitated because they said I was setting up a scam and showing stuff that worked that didn't work for them. Well, it did make me take a look at the foam. And it made me realise that in a very strange way we're looking at a very, very different sort of downsize, or as a company likes to say, reformatting of the product. Well, maybe we've learned a lesson about what a couple of millimeters does to a product. If you're having trouble, you can try and find 12mm matting. I haven't been able to find a substitute product yet. Maybe my audience knows where it is, but you have to very carefully look at what you're buying, because I'm pretty sure back in all the other pull tracks videos I said I was using 12mm or half-inch product. Well, I better leave this video here. As always, thanks for watching and bye for now.